David, I wish to ask you something. You oftentimes rate a tabletop game on a percentile system, but you have never once said how you come to the conclusion. How is it that you come up with the percentage?
Oh, right. I've been meaning to explain that. Thanks for reminding me, Drazen.
Do not concern yourself with thanks. Simply explain, please.
Right, okay, so I have 10 steps, each graded on a scale from 1 to 10. I add them up and get to my percentage that way. The steps go as follows. Pricing per page is step 1. This is important as it leads into some other steps. The price of the game is absolutely a deciding factor on if a game will be played or not. With Wizards of the Coast and Paizo both pricing their books averaging 30 pages at $60 US, that's about 20 cents per page average. Honestly, there's room to wiggle with that, as sometimes both companies will have more or less pages, but price is about the same. I feel the same price for less pages is a bit disgusting, but understand it from a business standpoint. Step 2 is ease of getting the books. Most games use multiple books, so I look into how easy it is to come across the books. How easy is it to get any other books in the series? Some games are out of print, so I sometimes will remove this step and make note of it being out of print. But some companies still print old books, or the old books are easy to get, like Paizo's Pathfinder First Edition. I usually ask if I found the game by happen chance at a game store, which is usually a bonus for me, or did I need to look for it online, which can also be a bonus. If I had to go to eBay to get it, it's usually docked some points for me just getting lucky. If the company still has a page open for purchase of the book, it's expansions, bonuses there. More of a bonus if it offered the books for free, though I do bring up the question as to how the company can make a profit. Step 3. Ease of core information. Is the book well formatted in a way that I can get answers to questions quickly and easily? A couple of examples by the same company I can go into for this. In the One Ring game, when a new subject or mechanic is brought up, it quickly goes into an explanation of this subject. But another game made by the same company can be brought up, Alien. If you want information about literally anything, you have to go back to the table of contents, find the chapter it might hold the information, then flip to the page and might find it there, but there's also a chance that you could be in the wrong place. Weirdly enough, Alien is not the worst book I've seen. Shadowrun is definitely up there. I still don't really know how to make a character for that game. 4 is expanded information. How many books can expand on what I'm looking at? How much information is there about the setting? How long has this franchise been going on? Is there books planned for the future? If I have problems with the core book, I can often find or figure out the answers for those problems in the follow-up information. Unfortunately, a lot of games fail this. Some games only have the core book, like Teenagers from Outer Space, and if it has more problems, like said game, the fact that there's less books means lower score. Ease of materials is step 5. Each game has different materials needed. For example, your standard dice of the percentile, D20, D12, D10, D6, and D4. Some games require a specific number of dice, like how Alien asks for 10 D6s with 2 sets of 5. I'm still not 100% sure why, but the 6-sided dice are easy to get your hands on, so. You don't even need a hobby store, you can just go to Walmart with some of them. Saloon essentially just needs a standard deck of 54 playing cards, which you can often find at a gas station. But if the game still says it needs specific set of cards, like how Ironsworn requires, it gets points knocked off. Especially if you can't get your hands on said cards without paying an inexcusable price. It'll get slapped with in the points department like they're a Catholic school and just called a nun a bitch. Step 6 is GM freedom. Now, this is the biggest thing for me personally, as I'm usually in the GM seat. What this means is I am capable of building a story in the setting. Am I capable of creating my own setting? And how much can I adapt the world to work for my players? This goes into the next step as well, but we'll get into that. As a GM, I want to be able to make a wide variety of adventures for my players to have fun in. Do I want a horror game this time, or how about a heroic adventure? Maybe a criminal syndicate who's looking to run an international cartel? These options are great, and the more I can make the adventure my own story, better points. 7 is player freedom. This should be obvious, but it goes into many subjects, both mechanic freedom and story freedom. The more options the players have, the better I score it. Will the players have options to turn their characters into a sniper or a frontline bruiser? Can I make it their backstory a sad, drab, emotional roller coaster, or can they make them more happy clown that wants to see the world? Now, I admit, I rarely am in the player's seat, and my favorite story for a character I played is a fake name to see the world, just to go back home and with an achievement to make their family proud. I've done this story a lot of times, but some games don't really allow such story or mechanics. For example, the Power Rangers RPG. If you want to be the Black Ranger, you need to have a certain backstory and build a certain way, or else it won't work. The expansions sometimes build on this stuff, but the Power Rangers, it fails horrendously. 8 is ease of mechanics. This ties into ease of materials, but how easy to understand and why the game works. 5th edition, for all my complaints, does this very well. It's a very easy game to understand. You roll a d20, add your proficiencies, skills, and abilities, beg your GM for advantage. Now, in my opinion, Pathfinder 1st edition is also easy to understand, but some people who are used to 5th edition might find it confusing to add numbers together for some reason. But a negative system might be, unfortunately, Cyberpunk Red. It took a bit for me to understand how the dice system rolls. It's a d10, adding the skills in question. Sounds easy, right? Well, if you get a natural 10, you can roll again and add that number on top of it. And this continues until you stop rolling a 10. And if you roll a nat 1, you roll again and subtract the number. And that continues for each nat 1 you roll. Which, weirdly enough, that could lead to a weird thing where if you roll a nat 1, then a 10, you subtract the 10, but then you roll another die and add that. It'll be a good idea to write down your rolls, really. 9 is ease of information. This ties a lot into the previous ones. If a game has multiple books, this is almost a required thing. How easy is it to find the expanded information? For example, Pathfinder 1st and 2nd edition and Starfinder all have their information easy to find on Aeon, prd.com. But most games don't have websites like this, and very rarely promote them by company that made the game. So, fan-made websites are often a need for this thing. I had to look up how some things worked in the Fallout RPG, and fan sites actually helped me out with this. Because of this, the ease of information got a boost, because a quick Google search found the information quickly. But I've also had a few websites get shut down by said company. companies. Hasbro has a habit of sending cease and desists to secondary companies that try and spread information about their stuff. Some websites are simply allowed to spread information, usually making no money off the website through purchase options. Advertisement money is sometimes fine, but not always. But the cease and desist for D&D is rather rare. And step 10, ease of getting players. This is often the thing that hits a game most often, especially nowadays. It seems as though most people will refuse to try anything new. New things being fear-inducing to people for some reason. I never understood this personally. Fear is a lack of confidence, in my opinion. People are often afraid of talking to one another, voicing their opinions, or even trying to do something they may or may not enjoy. So if I bring up the desire to try a new game with a group, I used to have trouble getting any of my groups to try it. I've been with these groups for some time now though. One group for more than 5 years and another coming up on 2 years now. They've learned to trust me and my judgment. So when I ask to play a new game now, my groups are almost always willing to try it, even if it's something they've never even thought of trying or usually don't like the system for. Given one of my players has an absolute hatred for Fate and D10 systems for some reason, I kinda get it. Like I said, it's usually the dice system he dislikes, rather than the setting or the games themselves. Now, like I said, with each of these 10 subjects, I put them on a table of 1 through 10. Now, I could go into each step in videos, but describing this has taken long enough, so I'm going to give it the quick and dirty. Now, I add each of the 10 subjects together, get at a number 1 through 100, and that's my percentage. Does all this make sense, Trazen, my friend?
Yes, it does. Though, it does bring into question some of your scores, but I will not bother with that. I do have one more question, if you have time to answer it.
Yeah, this video is nearing the end now, as that bar down at my feet says.
I will not ask about the war you see beyond. I will simply ask, would you like to return home?
You're kidding, right? Man, don't joke like that. Shove off.